Welcome to today's episode of the Insurance, Life, and Everything in Between podcast. My name is Adam Brsan.
And I'm Chris Smith.
If you've yet to do so, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. And if you love this podcast, don't forget to share it with a friend or colleague. We greatly appreciate your help and support.
There are plenty of ways to chase greener grass and to find the apple at the end of the road, but there aren't easy ways to really dig in deep, put money in your bank account, and continue to push forward. This time of year, there are many agents in the industry who are facing adversity at home or in their personal relationships because they've let people down. That's pretty sad to say, right? But it's the truth. There are people at home angry with them because they bet on themselves, but they didn't really take it to the full potential. And instead of putting their head down and fixing the problem and fighting to get better, they're just fighting about it. They're thinking the next upline will have the magic key to making millions of dollars in half the time or half the effort. Sorry, but that's not the case either. There are other agents in this industry right now, this time of year, more than normal, that are thinking to themselves, maybe this business isn't for them. Maybe this just wasn't the thing that they were cut out to succeed in. And maybe they saw a little bit of success, like they got a couple deposits, a couple good weeks, a couple good months, but it's just not for them. And while they believed they could make it work, they just don't think they could do it anymore. And instead, this time of year, of those type of people knocking one more door, dialing one more lead, or giving one more presentation, they're filling out one more job application on Indeed.com. It's sad, really. Like, everything is there to make it happen, but they're just not going to let it happen. And instead of sitting in front of one more presentation and finding that belief deposit and that person they made a significant impact on, they're sitting in a job interview, thinking to themselves that they're willing to surrender their time, their worth as a human for an hourly wage and a set schedule, and surrendering themselves to the man. Now, if that's the path they choose to make, God bless them, that's their decision. But when they know that they can do it and they've done it before, I don't want them to take this time of year and to give up on it. This is the chance to look at reflectively everything that you've done and how you can do it better in the year ahead. I also think that so much of this industry is built on the backs of agencies. Obviously, hierarchies, IMOs, all those three-letter abbreviations, brands, culture, community, connection, those things that get you excited and get you out the door and then wear off at around 10:30. But here's the thing. We know this, right? All those things, the agencies, the IMOs, the brands, the culture, the community, the jerseys, the taglines, the connections, it's just a guardrail to get you where you want to go. It's the truth of it. Sean Mike isn't going to write the application for you. Craig Harvey isn't going to knock the door for you. Ritter Marketing isn't going to submit the application for you. Family First Life isn't going to deposit the money in the bank account from the application that you didn't write. It's you. We, Loyal Insurance, aren't going to dress you in the morning and put you in front of the breakfast table and then send you out the door. It's you. Sure, some IMOs, agencies, and three-letter places might specialize in different ways to do business. We specialize in the hybrid way of selling final expense and writing Medicare. Others might specialize in virtual sales, IUL sales, office sales, or hiring employees and building a brick and mortar physical location, kind of smelling a little bit like State Farm. But really, when it all comes down to it, at the very base level, it's still you. It's still you who's watching or listening today that's going to decide what the results are. I want you to really think about the fact that it's you. You define your success. Not me, not Adam, not anybody. You. You decide your fate. You put in the time and put in the effort or don't. You invest the energy and the emotion necessary to achieve the result and to chase the dream. We talk about it plenty of times, right? It's not the dream that is the most fulfilling part. It's not the goal that you've achieved. It's the race to get there that's the most motivating factor. You make the difference, or you make bad choices. Not me. You. You save more than you spend or sell without thinking ahead. You. So I did an interview with Eric Hamadi. Wherever you see it, just watch it. It's worth every single minute of the conversation. I did another interview with John Kite that's going to play, I believe, the day before or the day before that. These are individuals in the industry, people, no different than you and me, flesh and blood, human beings, but the kind of individuals who built multi-seven-figure agencies and made it to the pinnacle of our industry, the private equity table, and made the decision to take all that they've made and make that big check from it. They didn't do it by changing uplines every year. They made some strategic changes over the course of their career. Of course, they didn't do it by recreating a wheel. They didn't do it by cutting corners or making bad choices. They did it, and you'll hear a lot about it in those conversations. But one of the things I reflected on most interestingly from that is how you can set your job description, how you can define your success, how you can take the time to, self-motivate and self-educate yourself with a lot of good reading material. And in the conversation I had with Eric yesterday that I found to be very interesting, he talked about how he likes to set big goals for himself, but he also isn't afraid and really does expect in the process of setting those big goals to fail. So today, when we get into Adam's part of the conversation in just a few minutes, and he starts talking about how to write 200K a year, and I start talking about how to write 200 Medicare plans a year, a conversation you may have heard before, but there's always a little bit of nuance to it, always a little bit of fresh perspective, always a little bit of current a day events mixed into the conversation. When we have that conversation live across social media, I don't want you to be afraid to set that same big goal for yourself, because I don't want you to be afraid to fail in the process of achieving that goal. I think so many individuals in this industry are terrified to fail. Like, failure would be like falling off of a roller coaster that you were already afraid to get on, and then you're dead from it. Guess what? Even if you didn't make it in this business, you're not going to be dead afterwards. Like, it really isn't the end of the world. But if you don't ever put in the full effort to try to get there, that's the really disappointing part of it. So I thought for a second, how do I take and bridge us from a mindset type conversation about it being about you to a practical conversation about how to get there, the 200 and 200 chase. So what did I do? You can probably guess what I did. I looked up the definition of failure. And the definition for failure is actually pretty long. There's like several different definitions of failure. And for all I know, we had this conversation before at some point over the course of the last 4 years. But humor me if we did. Failure is defined in a bunch of different ways. And I'm going to walk through them real quickly here. Number one, lack of success. Well, here's the thing. You can't fail for that reason in this industry and this agency because we know exactly how to succeed. It isn't that complicated. You do X, Y, and Z, and the results come from it. So don't worry. If you're afraid to fail, we can already remove that one from the list of definitions of failure. A lack of success isn't going to happen because I can show you how to make it happen. Here's the next definition. The omission of expected or required action. Well, here's the thing. You actually can fail for that reason because I can't do the action for you. We talked about that one already. But if you're afraid to fail, maybe you can prevent yourself from failing by putting in the action necessary to avoid failure. How do you fail from a regular job? You just don't show up. You don't show up for 3 shifts or a week or 2 weeks, and then eventually they just take you off the schedule and you don't work there anymore. How do you fail in this industry? You do the same thing. It really isn't that different. You just stop showing up and eventually you run out of money and have to do something different. So if you're afraid to fail, just continue to frickin' show up and you can eliminate that from the list of definitions of possible reasons you can fail. Here's the next one. The action or state of not functioning. That's interesting, right? The action or state of not functioning. Well, guess what? One of the reasons why we do what we do every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern is I can show you that it's functioning, that I can talk to you about what functions, that you can hear other people talk about what functioned in their business, and you can continue to take that information and go function yourself. So if you're afraid of failure in this agency, in this industry, with a license, or even to go out and get a license, maybe you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, I hear all the time about this insurance thing, but I'm afraid it's not going to work out. Well, If someone can show you how to function in this business and you go out and apply that level of functionality, you're not going to fail. Here's another one. A sudden cessation of power. Well, I don't know about that one. That just means like you died. Maybe that's why you failed, because you no longer have a pulse. I can't help you with that one. And the last one, the collapse of a business. Well, guess what? This agency and this business is never going to collapse. This is a recession-proof industry, a century-plus old industry. And guess what? Everyone's going to die. And you sell something that they're going to need, unlike any other thing in this that can be sold. Eric had another interesting point yesterday. He was talking about the fact, and I think you guys should listen into this one because this is really inspiring in a very practical way, that what you sell is like the Super Bowl of sales. How is that the case? Well, you sell an intangible product. They can't use it, play it, show it off. You know, it's intangible. You sell something they're never going to use. You sell something that's hard for them to afford in many cases. You sell something that other people, it's so different from every other product out there, but it's the only product that everybody that purchases and keeps is guaranteed to use. So the collapse of the business is one of the definitions of failure. Shouldn't be a fear of failure that you suffer with, because it's not going to collapse. So instead of being afraid to fail, because I've just dispelled all the definitions of failure besides dying, can't help you from that one, look at success instead. You've heard this story from me before, and it was the 100K moment I had when I was just about to really get started in this business. I sat at a kitchen table that I don't have anymore, at a house I don't live in anymore, and I wrote down on a piece of paper $100,000 a year. In a moment, we're going to talk about how to make $200K a year, because that's the new reality of this industry and the world that we live in. But I sat there and I thought to myself, what would my life look like, financially speaking? What would my budget look like? What would my kids' future look like? What would the opportunities look like if I actually went from making $25 an hour, working 60 hours a week, to $100,000? What would it look like? And it was mind-blowing. I mean, you guys have probably been there before. You've had a job or a dead-end opportunity where you weren't making barely enough to get by, where going out to eat at Applebee's was like a maybe, where couponing was the only way you're going to get through grocery shopping. We've all been there before, and if you haven't, I hope you never do. But when I sat there and instead of being afraid to fail, I looked at the chance of success, it became so real, I had to go out there and get it. So that's what I want you to think as you begin to plan and prepare. What does success really look like? And if success is that motivating to you, that'll give you the opportunity to go out and chase it. So don't be afraid to fail. Be far more excited about the opportunity to succeed. Adam, hopefully that gave somebody a little reason to get out the door today, close the year strong, plan for next year, and succeed. I'm excited. I want to go out there and knock doors today. What do you think?
You know it. Of course. Yeah, no, a lot of great points there, Chris. I think you're right when we talk about fear. I think a lot of people, maybe they focus too much on that. They fear failure. And I mean, honestly, fear, the business, it does kind of scare the crap out of you. I mean, especially myself. I mean, this is pretty much all I do, but I don't, failure is not an option. And you can't focus on like the what ifs. You can't focus on like, what if I have a bad day? What if I have a bad week? You know what's going to happen? You're going to have a bad day. You're going to have a bad week. You need to focus on I've always said, just kind of moving forward and always focusing on the next person that you're going to go see and focus on the next sale. And, you kind of have to get fear out of the equation. Yeah. It's a tough business, honestly. I think, too many people out there make this business out to be a lot easier than it is. Even like so many of these different videos lately, even on TikTok, I've been seeing a lot of content, a lot of like phone sales people where they have like these videos and they make it look like it's so easy. And it can be misleading, honestly. What they do is they just pull the clip of the one sale that they made. They don't show you the rest of the day. They don't show you all the struggles. They don't show you how many phone calls that they had to make in order to get that one person on the phone, or they didn't talk to you about how many people they had good conversations with, and the second they gave them a quote, they hung up on them. They don't talk about those sort of things. They only show the good stuff. But that's one thing I like about us, Chris. I mean, we're pretty straightforward with people. We're pretty real. And we tell it like it is. I mean, yeah, you can do really well in this business, but it does take hard work. And a lot of the things we're going to be talking about today in the presentation I put together, talking about how there's really no reason any agent can't earn at least $200,000. Used to focus on 100,000, but these days, 100,000 isn't what it used to be, with the cost of living and everything else. And yeah, we'll get into that as well.
I also find what's interesting is that so many people are afraid to fail, but they also exercise exactly all the ways that you can fail. Because this business is very proven. It's very simple. It's very duplicatable. We get in the way of it with our heads all the time. They're afraid to fail, but they specifically do things that cause them to fail. And we all know what they are, right? It's leads, it's activity, it's quality of business. A conversation I had with John Stagner yesterday. He spends a lot of his time building locally, mastering a zip code, building Google reviews, building a local presence, building a quality relationship. You wouldn't, and I joked with him, I said, Adam, you wouldn't ask for somebody to review you on Google if you wrote crappy business. But agents that are afraid to fail are out there writing, in some cases, poor quality business because I don't know, it's like this vicious cycle. And then maybe they're afraid to fail, but they don't really recognize that all the ways you fail are very obvious to you. It's not a surprise. Really, is anything about this business a surprise at this point?
No, I mean, I think it's all on the agent, really. I mean, we all have different opportunities, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's all on us. I mean, we're the ones who have to get out there and write the business. And like what you said earlier, Chris, talking about all these different IMOs and how so many agents, they like to bounce from one place to the next. And it's like, I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is it doesn't really matter who you're working with. At the end of the day, you're the one who has to go out and write the business. But again, I mean, a lot of it is just, I think, ego issues, people not wanting to blame themselves for not succeeding. It's always got to be something on the outside when really they need to maybe look more at, themselves. What am I doing? Why am I failing? What am I doing that's not working? Even people, I mean, I remember working with people. Yeah, I probably should have worked today. I didn't. I got up too late. I probably should have worked today. Well, that's why you're failing.
Yeah,
because you didn't go out and work. The things that you need to do, but it's like sometimes people are holding themselves back because they're not willing to put that time in. And another thing, I think a lot of the different IMOs and even some of these videos I watch, like on TikTok as well, they just talk about just the flexibility of just all of the freedom we have in this business.
What freedom?
And it's like, you kidding me? I work from 9 a.m. until 1 a.m. sometimes.
Yeah. There's no flexibility. There is absolutely no flexibility. It's actually very rigid. I mean, we've had Shannon share thoughts before about how the more structured your business is, the more freedom you have. But if your freedom is out of whack to your structure, that's why you're failing. I don't have any freedom. I know exactly what I'm going to do on exactly what day I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do work on these days and not on others. Freedom comes after you've achieved your results, succeeded at what you're trying to do, and you take a quick momentary pause to kind of refresh and regenerate. But looking at where your freedom is versus where your structure is, maybe can be the root cause of figuring out why you're failing too. Adam, I had an agent say years and years ago that never worked under me, but with me, man, I have trouble getting out of the bed in the morning and getting out the door. I couldn't even make sense of it. I'm like, getting out of bed. Have you woken up at 4 a.m. to get to work at 6 to make $18 an hour? You haven't. Okay. Maybe that's why you're having trouble here, because that's the reality that most people live. Like I was at the gym and the grocery store, and there were people already hours into their shift making average wages that didn't have the chance to say to themselves, well, I'm going to have trouble getting out the door and going to Martin's today for my shift. They just went out and were an adult about their lives. I think some of the stuff, people need to be far more serious with themselves too. struggle to get out of bed in the morning. How old are you?
Well, I think they need to be focusing more on reasons why they need to be going out and working rather than reasons why they aren't working. For instance, like today, we just had like our first fairly good sized snowstorm of the year. I'm sure this morning the roads are not great. And I could see a lot of agents being like, you know what, I'm just going to have an office day today. I'm going to maybe just call and try to catch up with some follow-ups and things like that. And again, it's a mindset thing because maybe it would take a little bit longer to get from one stop to the next if you're out door knocking leads, but it's a mindset thing because everybody's going to be home today. Your clients are not going out today. They're going to be home. It's a great day. When the roads are horrible, you're going to be one of the only people out there driving. I mean, who cares if it's going to take you 2 hours to get home, if you're able to sit down with a whole lot of people because everyone's going to be home today. If anything, you're going to go to the door and they're going to be like, God, what the heck's this guy doing out here? I better let him in. It's freezing out.
But Adam, one of the biggest moments of my career and the first year of my career was a snow day. It snowed probably the most it snowed since in Philadelphia. I put on my boots. I drove my average middle-class car that was not four-wheel drive. It was not a Jeep. It was not an SUV. It was a Dodge Avenger. I drove it to South Philly. That thing got stuck on the side street, and I went out and I door knocked. And as you're saying, everybody was home. Yeah. And I probably wrote $3,000 of premium that day on the fact that everybody was home. And if they had a sense of humanity, they were going to let me in their home. And there was just so much opportunity there that most people wouldn't bother to show up and try to find.
I had a meeting once with a whole bunch of agents, and I was talking about what I do and how I door knock leads and, put a route together. And yeah, I just remember one guy raising his hand. What do you do when it's snowing out? I put on boots. What do you do when it's freezing out? What do you do when it's below zero? I wear heavier clothes. I mean, like I said, I think so many times people come up with reasons why they can't work today rather than focusing on the reasons why they should be working. And like I said, I mean, just that's a prime example is just the fact on days like today when it's when most people aren't going to want to go out. Well, that's a good thing for you. You go out, you're going to catch a heck of a lot of people at home, even on days when it's raining out. And I think the same guy said, what do you do when it's raining? I don't know, bring an umbrella with me. But I mean, I think the same guy actually, he called me one day because he couldn't work because his windshield wipers were broken. So, and I don't think he's no longer in the business.
Yeah, I think the windshield wipers are the only thing I can fix on my car. I don't know what your windshield wipers are broken. What are you talking about? I think the other one is my favorite one I would watch in Medicare groups is I have to make sure that I get a oil change and a haircut before AEP. Like, do these things take your entire day? Like, if you're afraid to fail, I think people need to listen to what they're saying to themselves and think to themselves, is this something my client would say? Because if this is something a final expense client would say, maybe I shouldn't act and think and behave like a final expense client in the first place. Because my final expense clients would definitely think, as much as we love and respect them, that a haircut is going to take all day, that after an oil change, you can't do anything else. And if you have a doctor's appointment at 10 a.m., God forbid anything else possibly take place. So if you're afraid to fail, maybe it's because you're thinking more like your client than an entrepreneur.
Or are people afraid of succeeding? Maybe that's another thing. Maybe people are worried about what if I actually do that? What if I actually do go out and do what they tell me and actually go out on a day like today and actually see people at home and actually make sales? Man, then that's going to work. And then I'm actually going to have to do that more often. I'm actually going to have to get out and do it more often. I don't know. You'll wonder, maybe some people, it's the opposite. Maybe they're afraid of succeeding. Maybe they're so used to failing that they just don't want, they're afraid of the other side.
I can agree with that. I know that having the curse of having a big week in this business, like the first time or the second time or one of the times you write 10K in a week, 7,500, 20,000, you know what I say to myself? Well, shit, now why don't I do this more often? Oh man, if I did this once, I should probably be doing it again. If I did it last week, why am I doing it this week? Like there is such a thing as a fear of success, because when you raise your own bar, then you're not meeting your own expectations the next time you don't do it again. So maybe it isn't fear of failure. It's actually the fear of success that's holding some people back.
Well, I think that's why I set the goals as high as I usually do, Chris. We have the morning call every day, Monday through Friday. For those of you who are viewing, I'd recommend hop on our calls. On those calls, I always throw my goal out there for the week, and majority of the time, it's a little bit higher than everybody else. Nothing against what other people's goals are, but I always set my goals high because I've had those high weeks. I know my potential. I know what I can do. So why would I want to set myself short when I know I can go out there and have that sort of week? And that's why, minimally, I bet the lowest goal I probably set this year, Chris, was probably maybe 5,000 for a week. Usually I'm, higher than that. I think my goal this week was 6,000. And again, we're talking about over 3 days out in the field. So it's not like I'm out there 5, 6, 7 days. You got to be motivated, but don't set yourself short. If you know your potential, focus on that. Don't focus on doing less when you know that you can do more and just be more successful.
I think also sometimes people have these micro failure moments and they have trouble putting the situation into proper perspective. Real life example. Last Friday, I was trying to learn how to run ads, trying to learn how to run Go High Level, trying to learn how to stop operating the industry like it's 2016 and more like 2025. And I had some guy in the industry take some quality time out of his day to go over Go High Level with me. We put some ads up, and I thought the next day that I had done something wrong, and I got an email that said, "You did something wrong with your ads. Click this button to fix it." Yeah, I didn't do anything wrong with my ads. I had got hacked. I clicked the ad like an idiot, lost my Facebook account until this morning. And I think these little moments of frustration in your life, in your business, in your personal places, really people can't put them into proper perspective, and it slows down their growth trajectory. Like, oh my gosh, my first appointment of the day wasn't home. Now the rest of the day is going to go to shit. No, just get over it and go to the next door. Put it into proper perspective. Man, my week last week wasn't the best. I went out last Friday and nobody bought from me. They don't put things into a proper, healthy perspective, and then those things tend to snowball. I talked about earlier this week, I think, the fact that I don't believe in a bad day or a bad week. I believe that people let these micro moments get out of control and they snowball into bigger problems. Have you ever experienced that before, where you let a bad Monday bleed into your Tuesday, slow you down on a Wednesday, and before you know it, the week was a wash?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. I've had weeks like that. And unfortunately, yeah, so much of this is mindset. And sometimes, I try to stay positive. Sometimes I get in my head. Sometimes, like you said, sometimes it does snowball. Sometimes, one person ticks you off and it leads to more of that. Yeah. It's like, you got to get over it. Even the other day, I just remember I left the house. I can't remember. Something set me off. I was just ticked off leaving the house. And it's like, you need to figure out a way to get back in a right mindset. And that's what I did. I figured out a way to kind of forget about anything else that was going on and just focus on the, kind of getting back into that positive mindset. Otherwise, I probably would have had a pretty bad day. And I think I ended up writing 5,400 in premium that day. So
I want to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be happy to kind of share, what I did.
Let's do that in a moment.
Week.
Because I think I have those exact same feelings sometimes. And maybe when people hear us being honest and transparent, they could recognize that there are no superheroes in this business, just men and women trying to secure their own fates and success. I get out in the field sometimes and I think, what about Friday? What about Saturday? What about next Tuesday? What about next Monday? What about the day before? What about this agent and that issue and this email and that text and this voicemail? And all these issues just start to pile up in your head. And I think to myself, all right, stop. You know what you can do? Win today. Run the appointments, knock the doors, dial the calls, work your list, work your backups. Just do today. get today under control, focus on winning today, and then you can tackle next Tuesday with a clearer conscience. I think sometimes people just need to slow down and put some blinders on and go out and write business, because it's a shame to think that sometimes the biggest failures in this business are people that don't put the blinders on and go out and sell. So that's all I have to say about that. I just think that don't let yesterday and today, tomorrow and next week get in the way. Just focus on right now, and then you can win right now. And then the next time you can win the next thing and the next thing after that.
Most definitely. So
5K in a
yeah,
day. Tell me about it.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can kind of run through a little bit with my week. Yeah, Wednesday was my big day. Tuesday, not a whole lot of, really not a whole bunch of anything. Just had some no-shows. Just didn't really get anywhere with anybody. I did like finalize one that I counted towards my production from the week prior. I needed to go back to like get this voice signature or something, but I was at least able to get that done. So it wasn't a total wash. But then, yeah, Wednesday, 9 a.m., I had an appointment with a referral. I talked to the lady the day prior. Oh, yeah, come on by 9 o'clock. I'll be there. She wasn't there. From there, I just put a route together and didn't really have a whole lot of success. I had a few appointments set. I think I had a 1 o'clock appointment that had to reschedule. She was sick when I showed up. The 2 o'clock appointment, didn't really get anywhere with. They had trust issues with insurance agents in the past. They liked me, but I still might get somewhere with them in the future. Nothing yet. But while I was door knocking leads prior to like my 1 o'clock appointment, knocked on the door. It was like it was in a trailer park, knocked on the little trailer door, and the guy comes to the door and, he said, "Oh yeah, my wife filled that out. She's still sleeping right now. Can you come back?" He said, "Oh, that's about that free Walmart card, right?" And I said, "Oh yeah, yep, that's what it's about." He said, "All right, well, come on back about 3 o'clock and she'll be here." So I went back at 3, and it was just the home. I mean, honestly, I kind of felt really, really sorry for the people. The lady even told me that they used to be homeless, and now they lived in like this trailer that, I mean, there was really not a whole lot to it. I think she even said like they were only paying like maybe $500 or $600 a month, like in rent, but her landlord like wasn't even keeping up with things, and like half the time they had cold water, and just, I mean, it just, really felt bad for the husband and wife. But anyways, the husband, his sister died like 3 days ago, so this was like fresh in his mind. He actually has to go down to Tennessee. I think he's probably down there now for her funeral. She lived down there, but was talking to the wife. She actually came out to my car because, again, just the living situation. I don't know what the inside looked like. They didn't want me to come in. So we went and sat in my car, and I did the whole presentation. We sat in the car. We went through all that. She took my iPad back, and her husband came outside. I saw him sign it. He came out and he signed it.
I wrote one in a car this week too.
Did you?
Got to be flexible. Yeah. I wasn't sure if I was being kidnapped or writing business, but yeah.
Yeah. So, and you got to do what you got to do. I mean, I don't care. She can come sit in my car. My car, at first we sat outside. She wanted to just sit outside on like her front step or whatever. And it was freezing out and it was windy. I'm like, why don't we just go in my car? We can sit in the car. I don't bite. You don't got to worry, and she said, okay, fine. So, she went and sat in the car. I turned the heated seats on, and, and it was good, went through everything. And I think I wrote $10,000 a piece on her and her husband. It was like $80 a month. That was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I had a 5 o'clock appointment in Chicago. It was about an hour from where I was at. So I finished up just on time to be able to get to the 5 o'clock on time. And that was a referral from a policy of an agent that's no longer in the business. So the policy holder, he had other people that needed coverage. I mean, this is like business another guy could have wrote, but the guy decided that, he'd rather, stay in bed all day. So,
I wonder.
Yeah.
Do you think those people that failed ever sit back 5, 10, 15 years from now and have grown up to the point where they're like, man, I missed that mark. I really missed that opportunity. Because I've had those feelings before. Like I was a paramedic at 22, fire department, opportunity for a pension and progress. And I was young and dumb and didn't know how to keep my mouth shut in many cases. And I think back, if I had just shut up and played by the rules, I could have been this type of a person in this type of a position. And that's not what it ended up being. And that's okay. But do you think the people that fail out of this business ever have those self-reflective moments later and say, I really did miss the mark to make 200 grand a year?
I don't know. I think it probably just depends on the person. Some people may, other people would probably just, again, have that whole ego issue where they're just going to say, yeah, it just wasn't for me. It wasn't me. It was everything else. It was all the outside stuff. But yeah, I mean, heck, I wish I would have done more when I was younger in the business. When I was 21 years old, I was out doing a whole lot more than work. And so, yeah, I'd probably be further ahead now had I been more responsible when I was in my early 20s. But I never gave up. I never gave up. I still went out there and worked. Heck, there'd be days I'd be out until 2 a.m. and I'd get up and, go to work the next day. I never took days off or anything, but again, probably wasn't in the best shape to go out and work. But anyways,
just proves like if you show up, you can write business.
Yeah. I still wrote business, but I feel like I probably would have been more successful had I been a little bit more responsible when I was younger. But heck, I was young. I think a lot of people when they're young, they're more interested in going out and meeting people and having a good time. So, but anyways, yeah. So that was a referral appointment. The lady, she has cancer. She's had cancer for like 4 or 5 years. And I was able to write her a policy, and it wasn't even a guaranteed issue. It was a modified death benefit. So wrote her a policy, and I thought I was just going there to write her, and then ended up writing a couple of her sons, and I have a couple more to write. So I think, I ended up with 3 apps out of that house. And then that was, I don't know, a total of probably like 1,200, I think, between the 3 apps, maybe, because her sons, they were younger. They were only like maybe $20 a piece a month or something like that. But then I had another referral appointment at 6 o'clock earlier in the day when I was out door knocking leads. I got a call from one of my clients. Yeah. Hey, Adam, my son-in-law, I need you to call him. We just happened to be talking the other day, and he told me he'd been looking for life insurance. And I told him not to do anything before talking to you. I told him, you're my guy. You're good. You're straightforward and upfront, and I know you look out for me. So I told him not to really mess with anybody, but, talking to you about this. And I said, all right, well, what's his number? I'll give him a call. And then so I called the guy. And I told him, I said, hey, I asked him where he lived, and I said, well, I'm actually going to kind of be out that way later tonight. I could swing by maybe like around 6:30. I think I ended up getting there at 7, but it worked out. He was actually just getting home too. He had gotten stuck in traffic, whatever. Ended up writing, and he was 46 years old. I wrote him a term policy and also a whole life policy. And the way I've been explaining this to people, the way I explain term and whole life, he's 46. I kind of figured out his whole situation. He's 46 years old. He's married. He's got 4 kids, kind of similar to my situation, and myself. Heck, I have a mortgage. I have, I know that if something were to happen to me, there's going to be a lot of expense there when it comes to the house still needing to be paid off, and heck, there'd still be property taxes having to be paid every month and all that stuff. kids having to go through college, those sort of things. It would be a pretty tough situation on my wife if something were to happen to me. And I kind of explained that to this guy. And I told him, I said, whole life is for expenses that never go away, like a funeral. A funeral is an expense that's never going to go away. So you want something that is always going to be there. I said, term expires, but also some of your expenses will go away. And I told him, I have two 30-year terms. I have a 30-year mortgage. Well, when my house is paid off, well, that is no longer going to be a big expense that's there. And at the same time, my kids will be grown. They'll be out of school at that point. We're not going to need all that extra coverage. We're not going to need $2 million in life insurance benefits, but there's still going to be there's still going to be the funeral expenses. And that's why I have a little bit of both. I have the term to cover the expenses that go away, but then I also have the whole life for those expenses that are always going to be there. And he was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I ended up writing him. Originally, it was $1 million policy. It came back that he got rated up and ended up switching it to $500,000, but he was happy with that. So wrote him $500,000 30-year term. And then I wrote him a $50,000 whole life policy. So in that house alone, it was like, $270 a month in premium. And he can afford it. The guy's got a good job. I'm going to be going back to write his wife too. I didn't want to throw too much at him all at once. So
Curious,
that day, yeah. What's up, Chris?
What did you use in that scenario? Because that's some interesting underwriting, interesting product choices, interesting idea. Because a lot of times, insurance agent runs into a 46-year-old, which is out of their norm, and they just don't know what to do in that situation.
Yeah.
So, what did you choose product wise?
Well, I wrote him one of the same term policies that I have. The Transamerica. I forget what they call it.
Trendsetter.
The Trendsetter.
Yep, yeah, I have one of those too.
Okay,
good choice.
Yeah, I wrote them their rates are awesome. I mean, as far as I know, they seem like the best rates out there, and they're easy. It's simplified issue. You don't got to worry about anybody having to come back to take the person's blood or make them go up on a scale or anything. Yeah, I mean, it's a good policy. I have it. I have one of those on my wife as well. So I wrote him that, the 30-year term. And then I was going to write him Baltimore Life, 50,000 whole life. And I went to their e-app and it was like under maintenance. And I mean, we're talking about, it was probably close to 8:30, 9 o'clock at night Central Time by the time I was writing that application. So I figured Baltimore, that's Eastern Time. It was probably like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So yeah, maybe their system was just updating or whatever, but I wasn't just going to leave without writing it. So I actually ended up using Elko, Chris. Elko Mutual, a lot of you might not even know who they are. They're a smaller company. They're local to me. They're up north. They're good guys. I've met up with them. Pretty decent company. Ended up writing it with them. They have the whole life as well. The rate was actually cheaper than the Baltimore. So, I was going to do the Baltimore, and it was just kind of like on a whim sort of thing. I knew I needed to write something. I didn't want to leave without being able to write that app. So yeah, ended up writing it with them. And yeah, it was a good rate, 50,000. He was 46 years old, and I think it was like $87 a month whole life. So it wasn't a bad policy. He was happy with it. And then, like I mentioned, I'm probably going to go back and write his wife. She is a few more health issues, a little bit younger. I think diabetic. Yeah, insulin diabetic under the age of 40. And I looked, and it looks like I can write the Transamerica FE Express on her.
18 to 80,
cool.
1885.
Yeah, cool with that. So I think that'll be a really good policy to write for her based on, there's companies that somebody who is under the age of 40 on insulin that'll push you to modified, where they're not even going to cover you right away. and she's not even going to get, she's not even going to get rated up. With the FE Express, the Transamerica one. So
Awesome.
yeah, I'm probably going to go back and write that one. Just haven't done it yet. Like I said, I didn't want to throw too much at him. I mean, he's right there between those two policies. Like I said, it's going to be what, $270 a month, and he's got other bills. And I mean, I kind of know the guy's income. I figured, let's just let it breathe a little bit, and I'll go back and write the other one maybe next month or the month after.
Yeah,
and then yesterday, just did some door knocking and ended up with one more app for the week, I think. So within those 3 days, I think I was at about maybe 6,200 in premium. So I'll take it. Not a bad way to end off the week before Christmas.
Outstanding. Let's
go through that presentation real quick.
200. Let's go 220 or 200,000, 200 MAs in 2025 in 20 minutes.
Yeah, we get to talking, and then it's like, oh yeah, I forgot we actually had a topic to talk about today.
If you guys are watching right now, feel free to drop a comment where you're watching from or what you'd like us to talk about in the future. If you're watching in the future, appreciate you being here as well. Any engagement you can give us on the content allows it to be shared to other people. Let's do it, Adam. 200K, 200 MAs in 20 minutes.
Here we go. So yeah, I'll try to breeze through this too. As I mentioned, used to focus on teaching agents how to do 100,000 their first year. That's not enough. I wish I could say it is, but it really isn't these days. You got to think bigger. And that's why I think a year or two ago, I changed it to 200,000. And this is the reason why. An average monthly expenses for a family of 4 in the United States is $8,500. So, I mean, do the math on that. 8,500 times 12. I mean, right there, you're over 6 figures just in expenses. So how are you going to get ahead if all you're focusing on is writing 100,000 or earning 100,000 for the year? You're never going to get ahead. You're going to be living paycheck to paycheck in the insurance business. Yeah, like one of the guys on YouTube just comments, and lead cost chargebacks. There's a lot to it. So yeah, that's where we got to think bigger. Like I said, annually, yeah, that's $102,000, and that's a family of 4. I'm a family of what, 6? I'm a family of 6. Yeah, and 3 dogs, 2 parakeets, a turtle, and like 5 fish.
This fish will do it in for you too.
Oh man, those fish, yeah, they're expensive. But yeah, there's a lot of expense there. Family of 6. I mean, heck, it's going to be a lot more than 102. And I know it is. That's why I hustle. I mean, my family, boy, it's expensive for sure. To raise a family of 4. We got mortgage, college tuition, just a bunch of other things. And like I said, and plus, I mean, anyways, who wants to be average? I mean, do people really get into this business like, I just hope I make enough to get by? I mean, most people, I would hope, have bigger aspirations and goals than that. So what's it going to take to earn 200,000 over the next 12 months? Well, you need to set goals. I recommend setting an annual goal. How much business do I want to write this year? Some people might focus on income. How much money do I want to earn for the year? I usually focus more on how much premium do I need to write? Because if I know how much premium I need to write, well, then those numbers will all come together. But I'm going to factor in the lead costs. How much am I spending on leads? And because you have to deduct that from it. But yeah, I got to figure out how much do I need to write? And that's another reason why I set the goals as high as I do, Chris, because I really do need to write 5,000 or 6,000 a week. Honestly, I mean, yeah, expenses are high. So
that's the thing. I'm going to keep my comments brief so we can do this in 19 minutes. But your goal has to matter to you. Like, goal almost loses its touch as a word because we talk about it so often. It's your standard, your production standards that you have to meet. It has to be something that matters to you. My weekly goal is based on my budget, and my budget has to be met or I don't have enough money. Adam's goal is his budget. If you're just setting a number that doesn't matter to you, you're never going to hit it. So this number has to matter. And if you're not writing close to this number, you're one problem away from being put out of the business. So keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, and that's where you need to, kind of break the big numbers down into smaller numbers. How much, if I need to do 300,000 in premium for the year, well, then how much is that every month? How much is that every week? How much do I need to do every day? If I only want to work 3 days out in the field, well, how much do I need to write within those 3 days? Or if you're working 5 or 6 days a week, factor that in. And I like to break it down even into smaller numbers. Like, for instance, let's say that you kind of run your numbers and you're like, all right, well, looks like I need to write about 3,000 a week in premium. Break that down into smaller numbers. Like, how much do I need to do every day? 3,000 in premium really isn't much. It's $50 of monthly premium a day, Monday through Friday. That's it. I mean, so that, to me, does that sound difficult? Not really. And that's where, you could focus on writing 6,000 a week. If you're working 5 days a week, that's $100 of monthly premium a day, Monday through Friday. To me, that makes it sound a lot easier than saying, okay, well, I'm going to write 6,000 this week and just not really, it's just a number out there. But I don't know. I think when I make the number smaller, it becomes more realistic, if that makes sense to you, Chris.
Yeah. I mean, you don't eat an elephant all in one bite, or you eat an elephant one bite at a time. I forget how that phrase goes, but the interesting plot twist I have on that, because you can definitely break your weekly goal into daily goals, is I definitely started doing that once I understood that concept. But then once I started beating my daily goal and then I lost my motivation for the rest of the day, I kind of changed it up a little bit, and I would write my weekly goal from the very beginning and continue to chip away at that throughout the course of the week. It was just a quick adjustment that I had to make, because when I was trying to write $100 a day, and as soon as I wrote $100 by noon, I kind of like turned my head off the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. So I had to kind of shift that mentality a little bit. But you absolutely need to break down your bigger goals into more bite-sized portions, or you'll never get there.
Yeah. And, like you said, Chris, heck, even if you hit that goal early in the day, you just got to keep going. If anything, try to do it again. Okay, I wrote my $200 in premium already. Hard to believe, it's only 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I had a really good morning. Don't go home, because we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Try to hit it again. And, that's that much less you would have to do the following day, rather than slowing down. You just got to keep going. Yeah. We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. We don't know what next week's going to bring. It's great to have those goals, but once you hit them, you can't just relax. If anything, if it's the end of the week, celebrate. But if you hit it early in the week, well, you just got to keep going. And number two, big factor, of course, we talk about this so much, pretty self-explanatory. If you want to earn over $200,000 in 2024, you got to put the time in. It's not just something that's going to happen. You need to get out there and do it. And work ethic is probably the most important part of this whole equation. You got to be able to get out there and work. You got to be able to set your hours and know when you're going to be working. For me, the easiest thing that's helped me to get out of the house earlier is to always try to have a 9 o'clock appointment set in the morning. If I can always have that 9 a.m. appointment set, well, that means that I'm going to be up and I'm going to be out. And even if I don't have any other appointments the rest of the day, I got plenty of leads in that area and I'm already out there. So do what you need to do. If that's what it takes to get out of your house early, set up an early appointment. And heck, and if you're going home too early, set up a 6 o'clock appointment. Make those your two most important appointments to set for the day, a 9 a.m. and a 6 p.m. Because then You're already out there. And why are you going to go home to go all the way back out there? You already got plenty of other people to see. Do what you can to catch up with more people. But you got to treat this like I said, it's not a 9 to 5. It's more than that. And yeah, maybe I work more than others. Like I said earlier, there's days I'm out of the house at 8 in the morning and I don't get home until the other night. I didn't get home till 10:30. And then I'm still working on stuff and still not going to bed till 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning sometimes. But I think that's what successful people do. You know, they don't look at the clock. They look at, what's it going to take to succeed? And there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah, you
Drink
can't
some more
make
coffee.
you can't make multiple six figures if you can't get out of bed before 9 o'clock. Man, I have trouble getting onto a 9 o'clock conference call. Well, you're gonna have trouble making more than 40 grand, 30 grand. You can't. Like that, the amount of time and effort and energy and focus and preparation and activity it's going to take starts way sooner. And if you're having trouble getting up, you're going to have a lot more problems.
Yeah, and if anybody out there is telling you that you can, make a ton of money in this business with not a whole lot of effort, they're lying to you. Like I said, some of these videos that you see, and they promise you the world, and even some recruits I talked to, and everything sounds good, Adam. But I talked to this other guy who told me that within a month I'd be making $20,000 a week. He's full of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if you're gullible and you believe that, we'll go work for that guy. We're real. We tell you like it is, and yeah, you can be very successful, but yeah, you got to put the time in. You got to put the hours in for sure. I wish it was easier, but nothing. I don't know. Most easy stuff you're not gonna get as much out of. And and the phrase I always use, you got to be willing to bet on yourself. This is a business. You got to be willing to invest into your business, any business. If I bought some property, Chris, and I wanted to open up a convenience store, and I had the whole store set up, but I didn't buy any product to put on the shelves, I'm not going to profit. I'm not going to make any money. So this business, our product that we have to purchase is our leads. You got to have leads. You got to have inventory of leads. And with that, that's how we're going to make our money. And you got to be same thing. If I put product up on those shelves, Chris, and people came in and bought stuff, and I didn't buy more product to put up on the shelves, I would go out of business. And that's where with this, every single week, you need to be focusing on more and more leads, having more and more inventory coming in, just like any business. And so that's why, like I always say, you got to bet on yourself. You got to be willing to invest that money, and just know that in the end, the return is going to be much bigger than the investment, as long as you're doing the other two things, as long as you're putting the time in and you're setting those goals to do what you can to hit them.
Yeah, it's a shame, because people, if they would put a little perspective into whatever they're dealing with and change the words around, they would realize how silly it sounds. Like, I'm going to run a business and start my own insurance business, and I'm going to do it part-time. Bro, how? Like, how does that actually make any sense when you think about it? Change the words around. I'm going to open a CrossFit business, and I'm going to work that business part-time. No, you're not. I'm going to lose weight and get healthier, but I'm only going to lose weight and get healthier on Thursday mornings and then Saturday after 5 p.m. No, like, it's just not, it doesn't work that way. I'm sorry, it sucks to think it, but it just really doesn't work that way. One more. I'm going to be a good parent, but I will be a good parent on Saturdays after 5 and then Tuesdays from 3 to 6. No, you got to show up every single day that you're with your kids to be there for them, to be a good parent. You can't do this business with a part-time mentality and expect full-time results.
Or you have a recruit that you're on a conversation with, and they tell you, well, you know what? I still have my 9 to 5 job. But you know what? I have time. I could work from 6 to 8 o'clock at night. And then I'm also available on Saturday. And it's like, no, I mean, you're going to set yourself up to fail. It's not going to work. You're not going to have enough time. And no, and that's, some tape, again, we say, what, half-ass effort gets you a half-ass reward. I mean, you got to be willing to put the time in, and it's hard to bring on someone that wants to do this part-time. I know what it takes to be successful. And if I only did this halfway, I mean, I'd be making what I'd be making working at Target or something if I was just, putting in half effort.
Yeah, it's also the fact that if you are doing a 9 to 5 and it doesn't hurt enough that you want to do something different, you're not going to. Like, it's a human characteristic where you have to reach rock bottom or a certain threshold or a certain pain to push into doing something different. Sure, you got your license. Yes, it sounds like a great opportunity. But if you're okay and satisfied doing what you're doing, you're definitely not going to do extra, and you're definitely not going to do the next. It's just you got to get to a certain point. Like I said in our open this morning, you're afraid to fail, but you failed your way into this business in the first place. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I was just going to say that too, Chris, that I think that people that can't drop the full-time salary and go all in with this, it's the fear of failure. You know, they like the comfort of having a set salary, and that's fine.
Great.
But they're not making the kind of money they'd want to be making, or they wouldn't be talking to us too. So, but if they're not willing to take that risk and go all in, I mean, they're just going to have to continue to settle for whatever they're currently doing and whatever current salary they're earning, because they won't be successful doing this halfway. Number 4, be consistent following through with everything we teach you. I mean, pretty basic, but really pretty straightforward and honest. I mean, Chris and I, we know what we're doing. We've been doing this a long time. We show you what works. We tell you what doesn't. But I've said this so many times too, from like a work ethic standpoint. We can teach you as much as you want to learn, but at the end of the day, if you're not willing to get out there and do it, why even hop on the trainings? What good is it? You just want to be a professional student. You need to get out there and take action and use what we're teaching you. That's why we do this.
Yeah, we had a failure to launch a couple of months ago, Adam, that said they needed more and more and more and more of our training. They weren't ready yet. And I'm like, we just gave you an hour of literally private training. Tell me where you want leads. Say what I just told you to say, and you got to try. Like that.
We have 142 podcast episodes, Chris.
Yeah, I don't know. And I remember 3-4 years ago, before I made the commitment to do this, I could understand if they didn't have the stuff or the training or the information. But there's a Google Drive. There's a free university of training. There's 100 and some episodes. There's our entire presentation. All this stuff is there. And if you're an agent or an agency right now, and you're not getting the kind of support, comp, leads, access to carriers, then maybe you need to have that kind of conversation with us as well. Because this isn't just a ground level conversation to the personal producer. There's plenty of small agencies out there trying to grow on low contracts with no support or no vision. And we spent the whole year, Adam, talking about vision and legacy, and we've wrapped up that conversation at this point. But it takes vision to get where you're going. And if you're not being provided that either, we need to talk.
Yeah, most definitely. Did you know if you work 25 leads a week, every week, again, talking about consistency, and you are only able to set appointments on half of them. So you set 12 appointments and you're only able to sell half of your appointments. So you make 6 sales off of your 12 appointments. And usually if I'm sitting down with 12 people, Chris, I think I'm going to write more than half of them.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm probably going to write closer to probably 75% of them. About 3 out of 4, I think, that I sit down with, I'm going to write business on. So this is, to me, I'm showing you small numbers. If you only wrote half of your appointments, so 6 sales on 12 appointments on 25 leads, you will earn $274,000 in 2025.
And you write 4 Medicare Advantage enrollments, which is half of the people you sold final expense to. You'd earn 274, and you would earn like $100K in year 2 from that. It's just, it's mind blowing just how simple and duplicatable that is.
And again, I mean, I didn't just pull that number out of anywhere. I mean, you break that down, 274,000 divided by what, 52? I think 4,800 was the number. I'm thinking probably right around that figure, 800 annualized premium per sale on average. So yeah. And if you got to hop off, if we're not quite done yet, I can finish up, but
yeah, I'm going to drop off camera for a second. So just go solo for a minute and I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So having a steady flow of leads, again, is essential. 25 leads, 12 appointments. There it is. Okay. So I had it on here. This is a training I put together a while ago, but 6 sales a week. Yeah. 4,800 in premium. So that was the number I was looking at, was like around 800 annualized premium. And if I did the numbers this year, I would say my premium average per sale is probably right around there, about 800, maybe even a little bit higher than that. And it's so funny because back in the day, I mean, I would say my average premium was maybe closer to 600, about $50 a month. But I think these days people just understand everything costs more. They understand, especially with final expense, they need more coverage, that 10,000 isn't going to cut it when it comes to a burial. And for years, I mean, I wrote so many $10,000 policies, and now, I mean, I would say my average is probably more like 15 to 25,000 in annual in face amount, because people understand they need more coverage. 10,000 isn't going to cut it, but it's going to cost a little bit more to have a policy that's a little bit bigger than that. But they're willing to put forth that money because they don't want to put the burden on their family. So there it is, 52 weeks. You're looking at $249,600 at 110% commission level. That's just what I figured out. That's kind of like street level. You're looking at $274,560. Remember, I know some people may be on a free lead program. Their comp may be quite a bit less than that. But then remember, too, you're also not investing the money into the leads. So that's where, you might need to write a little bit more to earn that sort of income, but you're also not investing as much into the business. And that's something sometimes the agents, I think that they start on a free lead deal, and that's fine. And I think the goal should be to transition off of that into a program where you are just buying your leads yourself every week. Because in the end, you really are going to make more money when you're investing your own money. But again, when you first start, I know it's maybe a little bit more of a risk to go that route. So some people will go that route of the free leads. In my opinion, like I said, I think you just got to be willing to bet on yourself. You might even work those leads a little bit harder if you're investing your own money into them. And again, having a steady flow of leads is essential. We break it down into 30 leads a week, 16 appointments, 8 sales, 6,400 in premium. I mean, that's about what I wrote this week. Very doable. Again, just having the enough people to see on a regular basis. Over a year, on the same comp, you're looking at 366,000. Yeah, we're not deducting the lead expense off of that. So you do have to, incorporate that into the equation. Figure 30 leads, even at $40 a lead, you're looking at $1,200 a week times 52. I mean, I don't know the math that well on that, but I mean, probably like around 60,000. So right there, but who cares? Who cares if you got to invest $60,000 a year into your business to earn 366,000? Subtract the 60 grand, you're still over 300,000 for the year. So, it takes money to make money. Referrals. Like I mentioned, this week, I wrote a lot of business on referrals. Like the most business I probably ever written on referrals. I've never been huge on referrals, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not pushing too hard on referrals. But lately I have been. I've been kind of doing some things with gift cards to kind of incentivize people. Basically what I've been doing, and let's see, I'll explain this real quick. So I'm going to explain real quick what I've been doing to help with referrals and to generate some more referrals. When I'm in a home and I make a sale, I keep a couple gift cards on me. To me, it's more real when I can actually show the person a gift card. Like if I just tell them, okay, look, if you send me some referrals, I'll give you a gift card. It's not going to, I don't know, it doesn't hold as much value in my opinion. But if I have a gift card on me and I can show it to them, I might get a little bit more out of that in my opinion. So I close up the sale and then I pull out my calendar. And what I've been doing, I've been telling the person, look, I actually have an opening at 3:00 today. If you have somebody that you can call right now and and tell them that they need me to come see them. And if you can set that appointment for me for 3:00, I'll give you this $25 Walmart gift card. And it's been working really well. I pull that gift card out, they get right on their phone and they start calling their family members and friends because they know that if they can set that appointment for me, I'm going to give them that gift card. I mean, heck, you're going to spend more than that on an appointment if you're buying leads. You're going to spend $40 on the lead. Plus, I have appointment setters that call for me. That's increasing the cost of that appointment as well. So right there, I mean, heck yeah, I'll pay $25 for an appointment with somebody that is in the right financial situation to sit down and talk business with me. So yeah, that's what I've been doing to get the referrals lately. And then if they aren't able to set the appointment with me, I usually tell them, look, if I'm still able to sit down with them, I'll see what I can do to help you. And I'll probably more than likely send them something. I'll send them a Walmart gift card or something. But yeah, that's been working pretty well for me. Like I said, this week, I wrote 6,400 in premium, and I would say about 1,800 of it was off of leads, and the rest was off of referrals. So about 4,600 this week in premium off of referrals. So good business to write. And I think it's business that's going to stick too. So anyways, right there, 6 sales a week. If you make 6 sales a week and you get 1 referral each on a sale, that 1 extra sale a week is going to earn you an additional $45,000 a year. We're just talking about 1 sale off of a referral a week, just 1. And like I said, this week, I mean, 4,800, I think I said in premium, 4,600 in premium, something like that off of referrals. I mean, heck, if I did that every single week, I mean, boy, I'm going to have a lot more coming in next year, not only off of leads, but just from the referrals. So yeah, definitely you need to be asking for referrals. Look at referrals as free leads. Like I said, yeah, I'll give them a gift card if they're able to set the appointment for me right then and there. But to me, it's worth it. And I'd be paying for a lead anyway. So what's $25 to help my client out? And they're helping me out and with a good opportunity to make another sale. So setting your schedule. If you don't have an appointment setter, you need to set time aside to set up appointments. I would recommend to set aside 2 days to focus on setting up appointments and to keep up with your business, or hire an appointment setter. Like I mentioned, I have too much other things to do. I don't have time to be sitting around all day. I know the type of work that these appointment setters do in order to set me up the appointments. I don't have the patience to be on the phone that long to try to set up the appointments that they're setting. Cause I mean, they're calling and dialing and dialing and dialing. And I tried the telesales thing a year and a half ago. I couldn't stand it. I mean, that's just me. I know other people are successful at it. I just couldn't stand the constant dialing. So I'd rather someone else do all that for me. So, the appointment setters, they handle it for me, but someone who's brand new that maybe just doesn't have the money to be able to pay an appointment setter as well, just set that time aside, a couple days. I would call on Monday to set Tuesday and Wednesday, or you could even call on Sunday for Monday and Tuesday. As long as you just set that 1 day, usually works. And then you could call on Thursday to set for Friday and Saturday, or you could call on Wednesday for Thursday and Friday. You don't want to set the appointment too far out, because the further out you set the appointment, the higher the probability that they're not going to be home. So, if I'm setting for Monday, my goal is to set for Tuesday. I'll set it up for Wednesday if I have to, but I'm going to try to fill my whole Tuesday before I start to fill in times for Wednesday. And then you could always, if you have openings on Wednesday, you get home from work on Tuesday, you could get on the phone and try to set up the rest of your Wednesday. But I think if you dedicate a whole day to fill up a day, you're going to do pretty well with setting up those appointments. And set up appointments on the hour, especially like if you're working direct mail leads, everything is so close together. There's no reason that you can't set them up on the hour, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, all the way through to 6 o'clock at night. And that's what I do. I have them set them up on the hour. And, they're most of the time, you're not going to have a full day. You're going to have some openings in between. But the great thing too with the direct mail is that we start to build up that inventory of leads, and we have more than enough of people to see within that one area. And another reason you can set up appointments on the hour, even if you go a little bit over on an appointment, I just always have the mindset that I'm going to get done what I'm there to do right then and there. I'm not going to rush myself out of the door because there's no guarantee that my next there's no guarantee that my next appointment is going to be home. And if I'm late, I'm late. And even when you set the appointment, you could even give them maybe like a 30-minute window. I know our appointment setters usually do that. They might set it for 9:00 and they say, all right, well, he'll be there between 9 and 9:30. So, give a little bit of time there. That way, if you do go a little bit over, if you're late to the next appointment, they know that, they told them within about 30 minutes of the appointment or whatever. And yeah, work appointments and door knock anybody that you can't get a hold of over the phone, or even people that reject you over the phone. I've done it many times. 2 days after they reject me over the phone, I'm door knocking that lead. They have no idea it's the same person that they talked to on the phone that they hung up on. Sometimes they're the nicest people in the world. I think people a lot of times are just pre-programmed to say no on the phone. It's like they think you're a telemarketer. They don't want to give you the time of day. And they're quick to hang up on you. But that same lead I'll take and I'll door knock and I'll have much better results. So if you're calling your leads to set up appointments, and if you're not getting anywhere with them, don't just throw the lead away. Door knock that lead 2 or 3 days later, and you should experience some pretty good results. I've always kind of given myself that the mindset, or I've always had the mindset of if I call the lead and they tell me no and they reject me and they hang up on me, that's fine. They're still going to have to tell me no to my face too, because I'm going to take that lead and 2 to 3 days later, I'm going to door knock it. And like I said, I've done it many times and I've had positive results. I've had people that, like I said, they don't even realize you're the same person that they hung up on. You don't bring it up. You're not going to bring it up at the door. Oh yeah, I'm that guy that called you the other day. No. Yeah, you act like it's a new lead, like you never talked to the person in your life. You show them the lead card. They see it's in their handwriting, and there's a real good chance that you'll get in the door. So just a little quick tip there. So that's really about it. Like I said, there's no like magic potion in order to write 200,000 or earn over $200,000 a year in income in this business. Maybe some of you came on today and you thought that, we would just have like this master plan of why you should be able to earn at least that much. But at the end of the day, again, it's about buying leads and ordering leads and getting out there and doing it. And again, being consistent with it. As I mentioned, the example earlier of if you were to open up a store and if you weren't purchasing product to put on the shelf to sell, well, you're going to be out of business pretty soon. Same thing in this business. What you need to purchase are leads, and you got to be able to keep up with that inventory. You got to every single week purchase more and more leads. It's not a bad thing having a good inventory of leads. Right now, I have over 1,300 leads that I can still catch up on from this year. And I write business all the time on leads that are from earlier in the year that have just yet to be dispositioned one way or another. But again, by being consistent, you're going to have those appointments set every single week off of the new leads. You're going to build up that inventory and have plenty of people to see on a regular basis to fill in the gaps when you don't have appointments set. So thanks again, everybody. Looking forward to the new year. And if you need anything, feel free to reach out. Thanks again. And this concludes another episode of the Insurance, Life, and Everything in Between podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, share with a friend or colleague. And if you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, please leave those too. Any input is greatly appreciated. Thank you.